Cornwall has a rich history of mining culture. We learned that here at Heartlands, where these buildings were renovated to share this important history with you all. What you may not know is that Cornwall also has a huge amount of fairy folklore and old stories, more than anyone else in our country, if not the world. There are many different types of little folk who feature in these stories. Knockers, spriggans, brownies, piskies and fairies are known to be found in places of great historical value. Cairns, quoits, ancient stones and engine houses. This Piskie Palace was discovered when the renovations took place here some years ago now. We believe the tiny people have since moved on, but no one really knows for sure. Piskies have been known to be mischievous and often unsociable. We learn this in some of the oldest Cornish folklore, however. They've also been known to use their cunningness to teach valuable lessons to the greedy and selfish, such as in the story of the Little People's Pageant. In this story, they catch a wealthy, mean man trying to take their treasure. He doesn't succeed, you'll be glad to know. We also learn that they can perform incredible acts of kindness towards poor, down-at-luck people, like in the tale of the Piskie Thrashers. The Piskies who lived here were a unique clan. They travelled between the undergrowth, deep in the earth's soil, and on the top side, where the sunlight reaches the spring buds. They were keen collectors and very skilled at finding treasure. Some say they even helped the miners, as they were particularly good at sourcing tin, copper and silver underground. They would source fine wood and other materials from above ground too. They never had too much trouble finding what they needed for their home and putting food on the table, as the giant people were forever throwing things away. Perfectly good bottle caps and bean cans were often being discarded as their rubbish. The Piskies taught their kids that everything can be reused. One giant's trash is a little Piskie's treasure, they would sing as they collected old socks for cosy bedding and bread crusts for their evening meal. They were astonished by how the giants treated their belongings. Worn jumpers tossed to the bin with a slight hole in the sleeve. Good shoes thrown away because the heels were slightly worn. The Piskies in this clan spent their days mending, stitching, whittling, and fixing their findings, giving rubbish a new lease of life and really treasuring what they had, for their handiwork and creativity had been breathed into their belongings. It was much more than a coaster table or a paintbrush clothes rail. Legend has it that one day a little girl spotted a Piskie at the bottom of her garden going through the rubbish and the recycling bins. In shock, at first she stood frozen at the back door just watching him. He was an older Piskie with a flowing mass of silvery hair on his head and his chin. He moved slowly, taking his time and organising his findings carefully. He seemed pretty harmless, so the girl finally found some courage to approach him. She tiptoed down through the garden. Keeping her distance, she asked him what he was doing going through their rubbish. At first he looked as if he might just run off, leaving his treasure behind, but for some reason he stared right back at the girl and said, "Rubbish? 'Tis not rubbish, young giant. This is wonderful material that can be used again and again for all sorts of things. I used just some of your rubbish to clothe my great-grand Piskies, to make strong furniture for my house, and to make useful tools. The problem is, you giants toss away too much. There's not enough fairy folk in the world to repurpose all your rubbish. The earth is running out of space, the landfills are overflowing and leaking into the ocean, the soil, and the air. You giants ought to slow down and use only what you need. The little girl stared back with wide eyes. Oh, I didn't know, she replied. After helping the Piskie load up his findings, she waved him goodbye. From that day forward, she didn't look at rubbish in the same way. She urged her family to reuse and reimagine all their waste. She treasured all her belongings and taught her friends how to only buy or borrow what they needed. As for the things they really didn't have a use for, well, she put them in a little box out by the recycling which said, "For the Piskies."